All right, thanks everyone for joining us. So we are talking today about top 5 tips from academic advising that might help you as you're thinking about the second 6 weeks of term, which I know comes with a lot of stress and some anxiety about the future and a little bit of anxiety about January term, and then maybe even beyond that into your degree. So I want to welcome Lindy Garneau, who is the academic advisor, one of the academic advisors from Champlain College, who's joining us today. And we're doing this from Gzowski College, where actually Lindy and I used to work together in Gzowski College. And our Gzowski College advisor couldn't be with us today, so Lindy has very graciously offered to join us. So we're just going to launch right in with Lindy giving us a little information about things you might need to know, and then we will have a little bit of time for a bit broader conversation, and I might plug a couple questions in there as you go, but the floor is yours, and welcome, Lindy, and thank you.
Thanks for having me here. It's exciting, and it's great to know that students are, wanting to participate in an academic advising-ish workshops as an opportunity to learn more about some of the things that are going on at this particular time of the year. So what I have for you today is sort of a list of the top 10 questions that advisors are receiving from many students, whether that be in drop-in appointments or booked appointments. These seem to be the questions that just continuously come up over our conversations. So I think it's worth mentioning them because you might be thinking about these questions as well. And so hopefully this will be informative. But I invite you to, as we're going along here, if there's a question that pops into your mind, scribble it down, save it, and then at some point during this chat, we'll have an opportunity to maybe explore it further so that everybody can get a little bit of their questions answered today. So the first question that we get often, specifically around this time of year, is when is the last day for me to be able to drop my fall course? So if you are not aware, next Tuesday, November 10th, is the final deadline to drop fall term courses. So you have, I think, until like 11:59 that evening to drop the course. However, I would advise not to wait that, that's just my anxiety just went up thinking about that. So if you think that there's a course that you are not doing well in and you have questions around whether or not you are eligible to drop it, should drop it, what are the implications for things such as OSAP and scholarships, any questions like that, I would invite you to attend a drop-in session with academic advising sometime this week or the beginning of next week. So tomorrow is Thursday, so we do have drop-in from 9 until noon. It's happening through Lady Eaton College with Melanie Sedge. Appointments are not taking place in person. They're happening over the phone or through video chat. And so if this applies to you and you're thinking you need to meet with somebody, tomorrow morning would be a good time. Otherwise, if tomorrow morning doesn't work for you, there is drop-in again on Monday morning between 9 and noon with Christy Carlson, who is out of Gzowski. And on Tuesday, drop in again with Autonomy and Trail, and that's Lindsay Mitchell and Jackie Orsetto. And the phone number to call to book that, to book the drop-in, please call the morning of the appointment that you would like to have. Around 9 o'clock is a good time. The phone number is 705-748-1011, extension 7333.
Perfect.
And so that
in and ask students often, what are the things that they might be thinking about around choosing to drop a course that would prompt that advising conversation? I mean, obviously it's possible to go on to my Trent and literally hit the button and drop a course, but when would you prompt a student to kind of have that even in drop-in, when might be a good time to make that call?
I think it's important to have the conversation if you've got questions around like OSAP. Even though we can't answer your specific questions, what we're going to say to you is please email financialaid@trentu.ca. So you could actually do that now. You could email them now, and maybe by the time you have the appointment, you'll have a response, which would be amazing. And then we've got a little bit more to work with. Also with scholarships, If you're a student receiving a scholarship and you're hoping to be able to renew that scholarship for next year, that might be another reason to chat with us. Again, we're most likely going to say email scholarships@trentu.ca to see what information they may be able to give you that's specific to your particular situation and scholarship. But we also know that if you drop a course in the fall or the winter, you may still be able to be eligible if you were to take another course in the summer. So that's something that we might explore with you a little further. And those are some good reasons. Other reasons might be for some courses, if you're in first year in particular, let's say, if you're taking, I'm going to use chemistry as an example. If you are in Chem 1000 this term, and you for some reason need to drop it, and you're registered in Chem 1010 in the winter, you're going to be deregistered from it because you will not have the prerequisite of the 1000 Chem 1000 to take the 1010. So in those cases, you're looking at potentially dropping not one but two courses and needing a course replacement for the winter. So that would be a good time to talk to an advisor, because we're going to help you choose what would be the next best course in lieu of that, say, Chem 1010.
And I always say that sometimes an advisor is a great resource for you to just sort of weigh through the options. Like what things can you be thinking about that might mean you don't need to drop a course? Or for students that sometimes say, oh, I would never drop a course, I'm not a quitter. Well, you know what? Maybe there's a conversation you could have there that might help you think that through in a different way. So yeah, don't hesitate to contact advising for that. Thank you. That's great.
All right. So our second question that we're getting asked quite frequently is, I want to change my winter schedule. Where can I look online to see every course that is being offered this winter? And so we're finding that many students are aware of the visual schedule builder as a tool to choose your courses and as a way of registering. So that seems to be the way students are engaging with course registration, is Visual Schedule Builder, which is found on your MyTrent. For those of you who may not be familiar with the academic timetable, it's a document that's a little bit more extensive than the Visual Schedule Builder. So it's going to give you more information about how is your course being delivered. Is it in person? Is it remote? It might even give you more information in terms of what does remote mean? Is it remote? Is it web? Is it synchronous? Is it asynchronous? So if you're looking for more details on how your course is going to be offered, the academic timetable might be a better place to go to look for information about winter courses rather than the Visual Schedule Builder. I always think that Visual Schedule Builder is a good place to go once you know exactly what courses you're looking for. You already have a sense of what sections will work for you. And then you can go in and kind of play around with what it's going to look like in terms of building a schedule. But when you are looking at starting from scratch, sometimes it's best to start with the timetable because it's going to give you so much more information in which to base your decisions on.
Yeah.
So you can access that through your MyTrent. I believe there's if you go under, it's either register or academics.
It's under academics. Yeah, I think it's under academics, and it's like a link right to the timetable, isn't it?
It's under register.
Oh.
I don't know if you can all see that. So under register, it's the second button over academic timetable. Perfect. So you'll see that. So you can just, if you click on that, it'll directly take you there. Otherwise, you can go to the Trent website. And so trentu.ca/timetable, and that'll also take you there. So I would encourage you all to take a peek at that if you're making changes with your winter schedule as just sort of a starting place to look at how courses are being offered and whatnot. I do believe the university is in sort of progress of updating its winter courses to reflect whether they are going to be online or in person. Some changes have been made since you maybe had gone on and registered for winter courses. So it might be a good idea, even if you are settled in the winter courses you're currently registered in and you're happy with them, go on and just take a peek to see if they have changed how they're being offered. Again, the best document to look at that would be the timetable because it's going to give you more information. I believe all updates on how courses are going to be offered should be complete by the end of day on Friday, November 6th. However, I would still encourage you to just check again, maybe before you go away for holiday in December, just to make sure any other changes haven't happened. As we know, this is a unique year, so sometimes there's some last minute changes that have to take place that we just, at this time, we aren't even planning because we don't see them coming.
And I suppose the other thing, Lindy, is somebody might have picked a course that they weren't sure about for winter, and then found out, oh, there is a course that's being offered in a different format that I'd like better. So it may not be that the schedule has changed in a way that's bad. It may have opened you up to something you hadn't thought about, and it's worth taking a peek at the other things you were thinking about in August, maybe.
Yeah, absolutely. And I mean, an example of that is a real benefit of having everything be online. And when I say everything, I mean mostly everything, like there's some sort of access, is students who have traditionally been interested in taking courses that are based out of Oshawa. You don't have to travel to the Oshawa campus to take them. You can take them online, and then you have access to courses and programs that otherwise would not be accessible to a student studying out of the Peterborough campus. So in some ways, there's some real benefits here.
Yeah, great.
All right. So third question we get is, when is the last day to make changes to my winter schedule? You can make changes up until January 20th. That is the final day to add courses for your winter term. We heavily discourage attempting to make changes beyond that date. That is the date that the university has decided is really the last day that is reasonable to make a change and a switch into a course. And that's because by January 20th, you will have missed about 3 weeks of class, which means you might have missed an assignment. You could have already missed a test. You might have missed some fairly important information. Another part is if students don't register for a course until the 20th, that means they haven't ordered the textbook. And so if it then takes a couple weeks for a textbook to be ordered and then mailed to you, depending on where you're studying from, it means you might go more than half of the whole course without the textbook, which we know on our end sometimes lends itself to a whole bunch of other issues. So we really encourage students to do their best to register in the courses you want to be in well before January 20th. But however, you do have until that day.
Right. It sort of sounds like you're saying that there's a big difference between sort of dates to drop a course and dates to add a course. And there's obviously good reason for that. But we do find in our college office here, we had a question yesterday where someone said, but I want to add a course now for the fall term. And our staff in this office had to say, well, no, you can't. It's like so much of the course, and as you can imagine, missing half of your course right now would be kind of hard. So.
Yeah, absolutely. And I mean, ideally, you don't want to miss any of your class. I mean, and I think it's possible to miss 1 week at the beginning. It's often very introductory in nature, so you can easily get caught up. But I think recognizing that there is a catch-up period, that you're not just going to be starting at the same place that everybody else in the class starts with. And even though faculty, if you do ask somebody to join a class after that January 20th deadline, they may say yes, and they might sign the form, and you might sign up. They aren't always agreeing to help you get catched up. That is your responsibility, and sometimes that gets forgotten. And I would say, given what I've experienced working with students this year, any amount of catch up is exhausting. Like, it's just extra hard, especially in this online environment we're in. So I would just really think about that. So the more prep and prepared you can be in terms of making sure you're registered in the courses you want to be in for the winter term well ahead of time, the better. Ideally, you're not making these decisions the week of January 20th.
Yeah, that's a great point. And I know you mentioned that students can get short-term drop-in advice, but we always want you to try to get good, solid advice well in advance if possible, right?
Yes, because I mean, then you've got time to think about it. You've got time to consult family or whoever your trusted people are along with us and make good informed decisions instead of the stress level being up here. Like, what we know in learning is when we're stressed, our learner's brain shuts off. So we want to try and be in a place to make decisions when we're not as, totally stressed about it.
Great, thank you.
Okay, and so our fourth question is, I want to change my major and make a plan for next year or next term. What options do I have? And so depending on where you are in your learning journey, this answer is going to be a little different. So I'm just going to start with first year students. If you are first year and this is your first, you're taking your first 5 credits, there's lots of opportunity to change your major. Your first year is really a year about exploring. It's about learning about yourself and who you are as a learner and what kind of courses you're really interested in, about kind of getting a sense of different potential pathways. So there is a bit of an expectation that changes are going to happen along the way in your first year. I think very few students come in, sign up for all of their courses and stick with it, and that's the plan for them, and they just carry on. Like, that seems to be quite unusual. The norm seems to be the student who starts in one program, does a course, goes, I don't think I like this, switches to something else, and then maybe switches again, and takes a little bit of time to find the way they want to go. Also, part of it is about learning more, like what you knew when you were applying for your classes back in July. You probably know a whole lot more now about what's offered. You've probably spent some time talking to peers, maybe talking to faculty about different programs that Trent offers that you might not have even known about, 3 months ago. So there is an expectation that changes are going to happen, and it's very, very normal. And I would encourage you to make those changes if they feel right for you. I do also think that if you are making changes, meeting with an academic advisor is a good idea, because we can help you sort of understand the implication of changes, but also help you choosing the right courses to get on the new path that you want to be on, to make sure you've got the right thing there for yourself. And sometimes in talking, we hear things that make us think, I wonder if they've considered this. And then we ask more questions to help you get more clear about where it is you want to go. And then therefore you can make these decisions much earlier rather than waiting.
Yeah, that's a great point. And I love what you said there about most people change their mind. And even if it's not changing your major, it might be a minor or a specialization or some other thing that you got sort of excited about. That's really a good point.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think the more, like, this is where the beauty in talking to our peers and the beauty in speaking with faculty. If you're in a course you love, like, take the time to connect with your faculty member, however they're making that possible for you, because they may know about things that just aren't in the academic calendar. They may know about things that you can't even imagine. And they're going to open that doorway for you. So it's really important to be having those conversations. And I think that kind of fits into a little bit about this idea of changing major.
Can I ask a really key question there?
Yeah.
I wonder sometimes if how you pick your major might be related to what you thought you wanted in high school, or what your parents think they want for you, or what you think will get you a job. Yeah. And I mean, what would your perspective be, Lindy, on those sorts of like guidelines around how you pick your major?
Yeah, so my view on it, and I would say it's my personal view, but it's also my view of having like 15 plus years of working with students and seeing patterns. So some of this is my own thoughts, but I'd say a lot of it comes from my just experience in this realm. And I really think that scrap everyone else's expectations of you, even your old self's expectations of you, and choose what feels right and what feels good. I think we end up doing much better in courses that we love and we enjoy. And that doesn't mean that we don't hit challenges every now and then, and we don't have a course that we're like, I hate this, but I need it. That's going to happen. But when we're in a program that we love, it makes doing those challenging courses worth it. I remember when I was in high school, which was a long time ago, but still, I remember all I knew was I wanted to help people. All I knew is I thought I wanted to do something with education. A lot of my friends, I remember saying, oh, you're going to be a guidance counselor. And I was like, maybe, I don't know what I'll do. But I knew I didn't want to work in a high school. I knew I didn't want to be a teacher. I thought I wanted to be in education, but at some other level. It didn't even occur to me that working in a university was a thing. I thought that you just had to be a professor, and that was like the only option. Yeah. Then I came here. I came to Trent. I am a Trent grad, a Champlain Trent grad. And I had my eyes sort of open to like, oh, there's all these people that work here, and they're not all teaching within a department. There's various different departments that make this whole institution work. I could maybe be part of that. Wow. And I could help students, kind of like a guidance counselor, but something a little bit different, something that felt a little bit elevated to me. And interestingly enough, in every role I've held at the institution here, there's been a huge element of that in it. So I knew early on what I wanted, but I had no idea what it would look like or what it would fit, how it would fit together. Now, as many of you here probably know, there is no like guidance counselor school. So and I didn't want to go to teachers college. It just didn't fit for me. So my undergrad is in Indigenous Studies and History. And I remember people asking me throughout the whole degree, well, what are you going to do with that? How are you going to make money? What kind of jobs are there in Indigenous studies? And I promise all of you that I have never been without a job, not once. In fact, many times I've had multiple jobs at the same time, or I've had multiple offers for jobs at the same time. So much of the work we do, the particular degree we get matters very, very little. In every job interview I've ever had, no one has ever said, what exactly is the degree you have? They don't really care. What they care is that I have a degree. They care that I can read, I can write, I can think critically. They care that I can engage with people. Those are some of the skills that come out of any degree that you're going to get at Trent. And I think the thing that sets a student apart when they do a degree they love and they're really passionate about is when you talk about it, you glow, you light up. There's so much energy there, and that is so infectious that's what's going to help you get the job. But if you're in an interview situation and you're talking about a degree that was like riddled with issues, you didn't like any of it, you feel really quite disheartened, that energy is what comes through. And then people are like, oh, maybe they're not a right fit for this. So finding a good fit based on how you feel is hugely important in my opinion. And I see that in so many of our students. My caveat is, if there are specific pathways you want to go into and they require specific things, such as we meet with a lot of students who want to go into med school, or we meet with a lot of students who want to become a veterinarian or a dentistry, the medical professions, social work, nursing. Some of them have very specific programs that you have to follow, and there's a specific pathway kind of carved out for you. So if you want to get to the end of it, sometimes you have to do some of the things you don't want to do along the way to get there. But if you know that ultimately your passion is that end goal, I still say go for it. If you know what your end goal is. Many of us don't know the end goal. We're just kind of wading through, hoping for the best. For those folks, do what you love.
Great advice. Yeah, that's great advice. Thank you. Awesome. Okay, I think you're on number 5.
And I'm on number 5. And number 5 is, I can't attend my exam. What do I do? So often, particularly around midterm time or December exam time, we get a lot of students emailing us, calling us, coming in for drop-ins or booking appointments around issues of, I didn't attend my exam. I missed my exam. I didn't write the exam. And when that happens, your first point of contact should be your course professor, your course instructor. They're the ones that are going to be able to help you through this next piece. Where advising is helpful is if you need somebody to give you instruction or direction around what options might be available, but ultimately the final decision is with your course instructor. So, and the sooner they know that you've missed the exam, the more likely they are to be able to give you a flexible potential, maybe another opportunity to write it, or maybe there's aggregate standing, or the sooner they know, the more options you have. So that's why we're always like, let your faculty know, let them know, because we can't, on the onset, we can't do anything about it. All we can do is say, here are the options, but we would need your course instructor to agree to them.
Ask a related question there, because I'm sure you've heard this before. Should I write my exam if I feel terrible, or I've just had a car accident on the way to the exam, or I'm going to throw up partway through it?
Yeah, I mean, some of that is personal choice. I think that if all of our exams are online, I think certainly you might have more flexibility in how you write your exam, which might change whether or not you choose to in a different way than when we were writing them in person.
Right.
So if you happen to have an in-person class and you are writing an in-person test, if you're not feeling well, given this COVID situation, I would say it might make sense to contact your faculty member, say, I'm not feeling well, I cannot write an in-person test. And I think that given the situation this year, I think there might be a much more understanding around that than there maybe was previously.
Yeah, and I'm asking that because I know that, you know, if you write an exam and you don't feel well and later you say, oops, can I take that back? No, there's no take backs on that, right?
No, there is no take backs. Whatever you write, that's what you wrote. And it's, yeah, we're sorry you weren't feeling well, but there's often nothing that they can do. So being proactive and saying, I don't feel well, I can't write the exam, what are my other options? Might work better, might be a better solution for you in the end. The thing with Agritat standing is that in order to even be eligible for it, you have to have completed all coursework. So you can't have any outstanding assignments.
And can you tell us briefly what Agritat is, like what that is?
Yeah, so Agritat is an option when a student cannot write an exam. And what the faculty member does is they take your grade based on all of your completed work to date, and they merge it in with whatever the grade is cumulatively for the class who did write the exam to come up with a new grade for you. And the only way that you're eligible for that is if you have indeed finished all of your in-class assignments. Right. So that the only thing left undone is that test.
And you have to ask for that and have a good reason and all that good stuff.
Yes, you would have to have a documented reason why you couldn't write the test. So you'd need a note from your doctor, from your mental health professional, from a counselor, some type of documentable reason why you weren't able to write it.
Great, thank you. Okay, so is there anything else you want to summarize before I'm going to hit stop record and let people type or ask a question? Is there anything else you wanted to say before I hit that button?
I don't think so. I think that I've covered most of what we're seeing anyway on our end on a mass scale. I'm really interested to hear what sort of individual questions they might have, and hopefully I can shed some light.
Great. Well, thank you, Lindy. So I'm going to say thanks to those, well, you're all here to ask questions, but I'm going to hit the stop button on the recording so that we'll post this for those that have broad questions. And thank you for your time. And I'm just going to hit that button now. Thanks.